We all want to change the world, or at least be known to it, and so, to some, the idea of radicalizing one's own beliefs can be enticing. In an age of oversaturation of fast cars, designer drugs, and Playboy spies, living a normal life somehow seems counterintuitive, like an unforgivable sin in and of itself. This unending flow of tiny dopamine hits we're drowning in can make it almost impossible to appreciate the little things in our lives, especially when we're constantly peering through windows into the everyday excess of millionaires and billionaires, the sort of people that we idolize, not for who they are, but for what they have, because we desire that sparkling high-rise existence. It's accumulation versus the mundane, work ethic, sucking up to that boss you hate versus, well, fuck you then, I do what I please. Wealth represents freedom. Exposure represents change or influence depending on your goals. But these perceptions are far from an absolute truth. They're what we're shown, but we're not shown the entire picture. Wealth does not inherently beget freedom. Exposure is not the same as change, and radicalization is not truth. There's an age-old question: is a billionaire's life worth more than yours or mine? In the context of society or history as a whole, the answer will always be yes, as kings and their advisors do not fight wars or die on the front lines. However, from a human standpoint, the answer must always be no. A person's worth does not merely exist within their bank account or their coin purse, and you can't evaluate a life on a graph because it's a much more complex question than that. And the answer to what am I worth will change drastically person to person. Everyone who knows you will evaluate you differently through their own experience, based upon their own criteria, formed within the events and truths presented to them in their own lives, and ultimately, nobody will ever see you just as you see yourself. The psychological correlation between self-worth and the value others put on you is not to be understated. Of course, it depends on the person and how affected they are by outside opinions and influence, but everybody assesses themselves upon the opinions of others in some way, whether it be an incredibly small or large consideration within that self-evaluation. My point is, though, that evaluating the worth of a life with absolute certainty is an impossible task. So how does one generate self-worth with absolute certainty? The answer, for many, is through projection. These windows we look through to gaze into luxurious penthouses are rarely clear, and the porcelain faces staring back are merely personifications of these things that we so desire. So we stack value upon them, with less consideration for the person who holds the keys than the keys themselves. They're just a face to associate all that we perceive as lacking within our own lives. That wealth and freedom, that influence to change the world. But if there's one thing that I can state with absolute certainty, it's that the truth is always absurd and rarely what we think. As Heraclitus said, no man ever steps into the same river twice. Everything is in a constant state of change, never being, but rather becoming. Within this social sphere of millionaire influencers, there's hardly a unique thought. It's all algorithmic. People like that extract value through an audience of others who want what they have. They carry no real influence because it's not their actions speaking, but rather their possessions speaking for them. And they have no freedom because they're locked in a constant battle against 100,000 others just like them. They're fighting for existence because without given worth, in the absence of shouting fans and like ratings, they become just like you or I, reliant on our actions as they speak louder than our possessions. That truly is a fate worse than death. And someday, not long from now, within our lifetimes even, they will be replaced by shiny new faces, makes and models, new windows into the same old idea, always becoming, never being, never content, never stopping. Of course, it would be ignorant and disingenuous to assume that every big influencer has the same outlook, though. There are so many people who use their platform for good rather than status, and I believe if anyone holds influence, it's the ones like them, who curate a community based on kindness and compassion, but that's clearly not the most popular opinion. You can be rich, and you can be famous, but as it is, you'll never be president. You'll never have that much influence, and you'll never have that much freedom. No matter where you land socially, there will always be someone above you. There will always be someone with more power or influence. Millionaires are ants to billionaires as middle-class men are to them. But do you think people will actually remember Mr. Beast in 100 years? It's possible. How about 1,000 though? Probably not. And if you've forgotten all the same, what does it matter? It's a depressing outlook, maybe, but being content is infinitely more valuable than being content. One lives in the clutches of others within reflections for validation, torn apart by clapping hands, and the other accepting the fact that it's okay to live an ordinary life, that these opulent windows are overglorified deities of this American dream, that everything you touch, no matter the status you hold, will change all the same. The people you keep close and comfort, those you fight and deny, will be affected by your presence, and that presence ripples outward like a stone hitting a still lake. And no, this is not an advocation of solipsism. For those who are unfamiliar, solipsism is the belief that, pretty much, only one's own mind is certain to exist, that everything except one's own consciousness is just a projection of that consciousness itself. Basically, I think, therefore I am everything. No, I'm not preaching solipsism, because that ultimately, in my mind at least, devalues everything to the extent of one's own existence and outlook, when ultimately the truth is much bigger than that. The world doesn't place any more inherent value on you than a stone in a lake, so it's up to you yourself as an individual to create that value, to take that first step. Instead of lying at the bottom of the lake, hit it and create those ripples. And everyone will go about it differently. Some are simply kind to those around them, others spend their lives climbing social ladders, psychos shoot up Walmarts, but how do you want to be remembered for the short time that you even are? As a radical stain on the face of history, or as a purveyor of truth and kindness? As a Hitler or a Mr. Rogers? Create your own value through actions rather than status, through truth rather than power or influence. When you present yourself to a holy light or oblivion alike, no matter what you believe, no matter what philosophy or religion you adhere to, you don't take your cash with you, and bodies still decay in caskets of gold. Unless you're an ancient Egyptian, which I guess in that case, party hard, motherfucker.